But we're going to begin this morning with our exclusive interview with Conrad Murray and the doctor convicted in the death of Michael Jackson. He's currently awaiting sentencing, and before the verdict, he sat down with our own Savannah Guthrie for a candid interview. Hey, Savannah.
Good morning to you, and of course, only two people know what happened inside Michael Jackson's bedroom in his final hours. Dr. Murray agreed to tell us his side of the story and answer some of the key questions raised in the case, why he didn't call 911 right away, and how long he was really out of the room the morning Jackson died. June 25th, 2009. Michael Jackson returns home after a long night of rehearsals to what had become a nightly ritual. Dr. Conrad Murray waiting to give the exhausted entertainer what he wants more than anything: sleep. Do you feel guilty that he died?
I don't feel guilty because I did not do anything wrong. I am very, very sorry for the loss of Michael. Michael is a personal friend. It's heartfelt. It's been painful.
Murray admits for 2 months, every night, he gave Jackson the powerful anesthetic propofol, nicknamed Milk of Amnesia, though he says he had started to try to wean Jackson off the drug in those final days. But on June 25th, when nothing else was working, Murray says Jackson demanded his milk, and the doctor gave in. You said you gave him 25 milligrams, you watched him, and then you left for 2 minutes.
Okay. How long, as far as all of that you've heard, would the effect of 25 milligrams of propofol last?
But how could you be sure? I mean, wasn't it reckless to leave?
No.
Murray contends he gave the singer so little propofol that the effects of it were long gone by the time he stepped away. But Jackson's autopsy showed he died with much more propofol in his system than Murray admits giving.
We have a 10:14 a.m. phone call, a 10:20 phone call.
Murray originally told police he left Jackson's room for only 2.5 minutes to use the restroom. But cell phone records show Murray was also on his iPhone that morning, talking and emailing for more than 40 minutes. And in our interview, Dr. Murray made a key admission. He stepped away during that time and was gone from the room far longer than the 2 minutes he has acknowledged. How could you really be monitoring Michael Jackson at the same time you're making calls, you're texting, you're emailing? Were you distracted?
No, I was not. When I looked at a man who was all night deprived of sleep, who was so desperate for sleep, and finally is getting some sleep, am I going to sit over him, sit around him, tug on his feet, do anything unusual to wake him up? No.
So you walked out of the room to talk on the phone?
Absolutely. I wanted him to rest.
You're saying you were talking on the phone, but you could see him?
I could not see him from where I was talking.
But you could hear him?
I would think if he got up and he called for me, I would hear him.
If he stopped breathing, could you hear that?
No, I cannot, but he was not on an infusion that would cause him to stop breathing. And that's the reason they talk about I was not supposed to be monitoring him at that time because there was no need for monitoring.
So you don't regret leaving the room?
I regret that Michael has passed.
So how does Dr. Murray explain what happened? At trial, his defense argued Jackson secretly swallowed several anti-anxiety pills while Murray was out of the room, then injected himself with one final dose of propofol, a lethal combination. Is it your theory that he woke up and then somehow, in the 2 minutes you were gone, injected himself, gave himself lidocaine so he wouldn't feel the burn? I mean, is that your theory?
Well, something happened when I was not in that room. As to how it happened and the mechanisms, I don't know that.
Let's say he did take this propofol himself. Don't you bear some responsibility? The propofol is in that room because you prescribed it to him.
This is the situation. It's difficult to think that I met Michael with a situation where he was absolutely having use of that substance long before I got there.
But own your portion of it. Were you right to leave him in a situation where he had the opportunity to inject himself?
Well, I'm going to say that was not a foreseeable situation. If Mr. Jackson...
It wasn't?
No, no. Had I known what I know today in retrospect, if Mr. Jackson was an addict and he had shared that information with me, addicts may behave in a way that is unreasonable and you may consider it. But if
You
you're
yourself
speaking
just said he was a desperate man,
desperate for sleep,
and you left him alone with propofol.
he was asleep.
Murray came back to the bedroom to find Jackson wasn't breathing.
Why didn't you call 911 right away?
No one is allowed to come upstairs, except for Mr. Jackson. His securities are not allowed to enter the house.
You called his bodyguard. Couldn't you have said call 911 and meet him at the gate?
Call 911 would still require him to call me back. I don't think he would do that, and I was not about to leave a full explanation on the phone.
Murray did eventually tell a Jackson security guard to call 911, and the paramedics were there in less than 5 minutes.
Why didn't you tell the paramedics when they came that he had taken propofol?
And that's a very sad reason, because it was inconsequential. 25 milligrams and the effects gone means nothing.
Well, wait a minute. Why not let them be the judge of that? Why not supply the best information you have?
Paramedics depend on me.
Well, you told them about the other drugs, but you didn't tell them about the propofol.
Because it had no effect. It was not an issue.
Please be seated.
Just before paramedics arrived, the security guard testified Dr. Murray asked him to put empty vials and bottles into a bag.
If you add all of this up,
Sure.
you don't call 911 for 20 minutes. You don't tell the paramedics or the ER docs about the propofol, but you do mention other drugs. The bodyguard says you're in the room telling people to clean up the vials. It sounds like you knew you had done something wrong and you were trying to cover your tracks.
Well, if that's the way it appears to you, I think, unfortunately, you have the wrong perception.
NBC News confirming that legendary singer Michael Jackson has in fact died of cardiac arrest.
Experts have said that if you hadn't delayed, if you had actually called 911 right away, there's a chance Michael Jackson would still be alive.
I think experts can say whatever they want without a full deck. But who knows, by the time I discovered him, had he not died?
Despite his conviction on involuntary manslaughter charges, Dr. Murray insists he did not give a lethal amount of propofol to Jackson and that he did everything he could to save Jackson. Murray will be back in court on November 29th when the judge could sentence him to up to 4 years in prison.
All right, Savannah Guthrie, thank you.